Hey yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and today we are going to be watching There is Life Hidden Inside Earth. That's right. Have you guys ever kind of considered the fact that we actually don't know what the center of our Earth is? I know they say that there's the core, the mantle, the inner, the outer, all that, right? But that's all speculation. We have never actually dug deep enough to know. But today, potentially, they have found out. Or they're going to throw a theory out there. Either way, let's lock in for this. Welcome to Learning a Little Bit More Every Day.
We've found a new planet,
Maybe not every day.
home to
I don't know why I
octillions of the
said
most
that.
extreme beings living in the most absurd and deadly hellscape. In absolute darkness, crushed by the weight of mountains, starved of oxygen, cooked alive, bathed in acid, salt or radiation. And yet, they live for
that
thousands,
Cthulhu?
perhaps millions of years. It turns out, this planet is not in space, it's inside the crust of Earth. This is the deep biosphere, and we basically learned that it exists yesterday. Its volume is at least twice as large as all the Earth's oceans, home to more microbes than the rest of the entire planet. Their total biomass is more than 20 times greater than all humans, livestock and animal wildlife. Let's descend into this mad, dead
So all those microbes are... So this would be a comparison of all the humans, livestock, and animal wildlife. And then this is the microbes. Compared. That is a huge comparison.
livestock and animal wildlife. Let's descend into this mad, deadly world where none of the rules we thought are mandatory for life apply. Going deeper and deeper. Deep life seems to be everywhere we look, below the oceans, near volcanoes, beneath the glaciers of Antarctica, under any landscape we can imagine, and anywhere we live. We'll use a special duck science drill and start our journey in familiar territory, on land, in the soil where plants grow and animals roam. If Earth were an onion, this is the very top of the very top layer. Soil is a lavish four-way partnership of air, water, minerals and organic matter bathed in endless energy. Life lives in luxury here. Plants exploit this paradise and produce more than 30 times the biomass of all of Earth's animals each year, in a constant cycle of growth and decay. Only a tiny fraction of the biomass is buried deeper in the ground, supplying juicy resources for almost 500 million years. As we dig deeper, most of the air has been squeezed out, and we cross the water table into a zone saturated with groundwater, rich in minerals and some organic matter.
Now, I don't know if any of you guys know this. He might get into it. You know how if you go underwater in like a submarine, the pressure builds up to the point where like if the submarine broke, then you would pretty much be dead instantly from the pressure. Does that happen if you like dig a hole like this? And like, does the air pressure actually change, or is it just because all the water condensed on top of each other? That's why I think it is like that, but it could be, I don't know, something going on, you know, outer space on the inside or something like that. Imagine we were on the inside and actually the sky is just like, it's like, you know the movie Inception where everything kind of like flips in on itself? Imagine something like that. I like the idea of inner Earth theory just because like there's a lot of possibilities. And, like, the poles kind of are the connections in. There were a few people who thought that.
Roots from the most ambitious plants reach down here, and the most common inhabitants are scavengers living off decay. This layer can be pretty cold because it's still slowly warming up from the most recent ice age. We reach bedrock, a foundation of solid rock for all the less solid stuff above, home to fractures filled with water.
That's the lowest
it
you
can be
can go.
exposed to the surface or buried hundreds of meters below stuff. Here in the dense bedrock, we're in a weird planet inside the planet, the most thrilling zone of the deep biosphere. As we drill further down, temperatures gradually begin to rise, and soon it gets really hot and the pressure rises. Underneath 400 meters of rock, the pressure is similar to the surface of Venus.
First off, I pre-fired that. That is insane. I pre-fired that.
We drill faster now, down to 1,000 meters, deeper than the Burj Khalifa is tall. It's about 30 degrees Celsius, and there's almost no free oxygen left. We continue and finally stop almost 4 kilometers down. Above us, pressing solid rock weighing tens of thousands of tons, with pressures as intense as at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Down here, it's on average 120 degrees Celsius, even hotter if a magma plume is nearby. The heat is a leftover from Earth's formation and from the decay of radioactive elements like thorium and uranium that shower the crust with a constant wave of radioactivity. To make things worse, some rocks are mixed with extreme amounts of salt. Hell.
The SpongeBob?
And yet, life is thriving inside rock. If we zoom in, we see that solid rock is not actually solid. It's traversed by cracks, voids, and tiny pores. Sandstone, limestone, or basalt are so porous that up to 40% of their volume is actually empty space. But even much denser rocks like granite can be split open by cracks and fractures. We've found a gigantic planet-spanning system of microcaves, free real estate filled with water and hardcore microbes. And these caves are moving. Just like the atmosphere is constantly mixing air to create weather, down here rocks are mixing to create rock weather. Submerged mountain ranges are shifting and ripping, crashing and merging. Continents smash into each other with the energy of millions of nuclear weapons, but as slow as your fingernails grow. Countless tiny and not so tiny earthquakes rip open tiny new fissures and passageways, creating new spaces for life and closing others off forever.
Yeah, but my question is, right? Are like these microbes, they're not having do they have consciousness, right? Like that's what I don't know if we'll get into that at some point in this video. Cuz they say like animals don't have consciousness, right? Is it consciousness or something like that? I don't remember what it is. But maybe consciousness is the wrong word. But there's like I don't know what the word is now. If somebody knows the word that I'm trying to say, like you know like the there's a specific word that like humans have that animals and like insects don't, but I can't think of the word. But do like microbes and stuff, like are they down there like having families setting up houses and stuff, or are they just kind of inside of a rock just like sucking on water when it comes through? That's my question, because like they say like what's it called? Like over on the Mars, right? There's like little bacterias and stuff. But can bacterias ever actually become something besides like just like, living off of like the little kind of sustenance that they need? I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought.
In this hot, moving pressure cooker, minerals are forged and baked, and organic molecules are created and destroyed. An insane menu for anyone brave enough to try to survive down here. Let's venture into the system of tiny caves and meet some of them. The most extreme living things. We think that octillions of microbes live down here, and naturally they are pretty hardcore. The doomsday preppers of the underworld. Some have big, bulky genomes, living entirely on their own, basically forming their own ecosystem, like the bacterium Desulforidus aurex viator. It synthesizes its own food by nibbling carbon or sulfur from the rock and turning it into organic substances. If the conditions get too extreme, or if there's no food around, it kills itself to survive by forming an endospore. It divides into a big and a small part and swallows the small part again, forming a cell within a cell.
Whoa, wait. So it has an infinite life glitch? It's got an infinite life mod attached to it? What's going on here? So it just reverts back to a baby? Is that what it's trying to say right there? It splits off from itself, eats itself, and then respans its own life?
The outer cell then sheds its water and kills itself, leaving the spore to float around, maybe for thousands of years, until it finds a good place to spring to life again. Others,
That's
like
insane.
some company, like the archaea, with the clunky name Altiarchaeum hemiconnexum, that have a rare double membrane covered in weird materials that protect them against the extremes. They shoot out nano-sized grappling hooks to tether themselves and seem to live in cracks and fissures filled with water completely devoid of oxygen, harvest carbon dioxide to create biomass, and may sort of eat hydrogen. The conditions in the deep biosphere are so harsh that other microbes share the hard work by forming consortia. They knit themselves together in a biofilm, a very thin, sticky net that shields them against the extremes. They are miniature cells, often with a small genome, but each good at one thing. One type of microbe eats methane and excretes its electrons. A second type eats these electrons and converts sulfate into sulfite that's then eaten by a third microbe, and so on. Some eat
they're all
iron,
helping
others
each other
use
out.
electrons to turn nitrogen or carbon dioxide into biomass. Life down here found ways to use stuff that's poisonous to most animals to make food and energy. But still, life is incredibly hard, and resources and energy are super hard to come by. So the most intense strategy for survival down here is to live forever. Like,
Imagine that. Imagine you have to live forever to be able to live. Like, that's an insane thought. But it's also like, if we got hit by an asteroid, right, all that stuff down there would be fine, maybe potentially even better and more thriving. And then could they turn into a different society? I mean, does that mean that there's always going to be life on Earth because they can live up to millions of years? I mean, in reality, right? I mean, even let's say, just say thousands, right? And then they, I don't know if they have kids or what they do, but then they could potentially live up to even thousands of years. That's insane. So does that mean there's always going to be life on Earth? And like, even if Earth got like split, if they can live, I don't know if they can, but if they could live and kind of like sit there and kind of just float around space, let's say like Earth blew up into a bunch of different and it all scattered, could they potentially live until and go into like a hibernation state? Oh my God. I'm just thinking now about all the stuff that could be underground. Not even like just like the microbes and stuff. I'm just thinking about in general. Like imagine all the stuff that's just hidden underneath the ground. Oh man, too much.
monks who've taken a vow of poverty, deep microbes consume very little and conserve their energy. Their metabolism is up to 1,000,000 times slower than microbes at the surface. They had a meal when you were born and are still digesting it. For
Wow,
most of their
what?
life, they exist in a slow limbo. Some even slowly cannibalize themselves, until a sudden influx of resources arrives by pure chance, and then they spring into action and reproduce. With this lifestyle, it seems that extreme microbes can live for centuries, maybe even for millions of years.
Whoa.
If they're not hunted to death, of course. Because kilometers deep in limestone habitats, there seem to be spaces big enough for multicellular predators. We've found asexual worms, 100 times longer than microbes, hunting and devouring bacteria. It's not clear if they originated down here, or if mini earthquakes opened up fractures for water to carry them into the deep. But there are other fierce predators like rotifers or arthropods in the depths, hunting immortal microbes. We wish we could tell you more insane things about life in the deep biosphere, but there's a problem. We don't know that much yet. For one, we can't really get a good look under kilometers of rock. Drilling down could contaminate the samples with microbes from the surface. We've found living ones in deep mines and brought them into the lab. But it's pretty hard to simulate the conditions they feel comfy in boiling hot water, squeezed under mountains, submerged in deadly chemicals, and still see them through a microscope. And
One thing that I don't understand, and I don't understand this at all, how do people know how old things are? Like, there's like this rock that's in a there's this hammer that's in a rock, right? And it's like predicted that it's like tens of thousands to even potentially like hundreds of thousands to potentially millions years old, which is like it's supposed to date back any time of like early like iron forging and stuff, right? And how do you know that? How do you know, like looking at the wood samples, looking at the iron, looking at the oxidation, how do you know that it's that long? I guess with the rock, it could be like how long would it take a rock to form around this? But like just other stuff too. How do they know? And how can they like actually pinpoint an exact date for certain things? It doesn't make sense because there was no technology around then. If it doesn't have a date on it, like you could, I don't understand it. Maybe I'm not just a scientist, I guess, that's another thing. But like they grab one of these microbes. How do they know that it's 1,000,000 years old? They're not asking it. It's not telling them. I don't understand how they can figure out that.
the microbes live so slowly for so long that nothing might happen. A lot of what we know about them we got from turning them into a slurry and looking at what their genes could do, like breathing nitrogen or eating methane. We know that the diversity of life in the deep biosphere must be staggering, and that some of the most hardcore and extreme beings live down there. This is a proper frontier of science, super hard to study, and most of what we know we've learned in just the last 20 years. There is so much more undiscovered mystery for us that could bring us progress in medicine, energy, the climate, and more. Let's end by moving our gaze from the inside to the outside again. Since we now know how extremely large the deep biosphere is and how life down there survives without light, oxygen, same temperatures, or not being covered in poison, could there be deep biospheres all over the universe?
There
Maybe
could be.
all you need is a planet or moon with internal heat or radiation, and a chemical composition that allows microbes to build the parts they need. Some scientists suggest there could be 10 of them in the solar system, hiding beneath a seemingly dead and frozen surface. So as we learn more and more about the life below our feet, we may accidentally learn about life in the universe.
I think that there's a lot to explore in the Earth in general, right? Just like on our planet. Like, not even just the universe, not even the solar system, because we're so focused on, like, kind of, like, expanding that there's so much we have inside of Earth to still learn about. And will half of it, will we ever actually know? Probably not. Let's be for real. They're going to keep it a secret. But there's so much to, like, learn. There's so much. There's still, like he was saying, like, potentially different medicines that can cure different diseases and cures all that kind of stuff. And it's probably, some of it could be in like a forest somewhere that's just like unfound. Something could be on the bottom of an ocean. And it's like, why are we so focused on one thing when we could be focused on another thing? I mean, and then it could be vice versa. There could be nothing, and then we could be trying to just, outbreach anyway. So it is a 50-50.
You're lucky. You don't need to drill dozens of kilometers through solid rock to
I
discover
will.
something mind-blowing.
I
You
will.
can just order some inspiration right to your doorstep.
Is this an ad? Oh, this is an ad. I think the rest is an ad, huh? Okay, yeah, the rest is an ad. So when it comes down to it, right, there is life underneath the Earth, as we kind of, could assume anyways, with like insects such as that. I mean, I'm sure there's pockets. There might be bigger creatures even farther down. You never even know that. Imagine all the big cave systems. There could be, I don't think there would probably be like people or anything like that, but there could be some off branch of people or something. There could be anything. And I mean, that's what's so cool about the speculating part and thinking about it is possibilities are endless. And since there's no proof of anything, everything is a theory. So you could think anything. You could say the most craziest thing. You could say that, I know the big one is like aliens come from the ocean. They actually live underground in inner Earth, right? That is a theory. You technically can't say it's wrong because you don't know. You can, dispute it. You can argue it, but you actually don't know. So it's like, that's like the cool thing about it. But let me know if you guys think on other planets if there is life. And whether you, like, let me know how you think it, right? Because I think that there's life on other planets. Do I think that they're doing exactly what we're doing here, building houses, doing all that? Potentially, right? I'm kind of open to the idea, but some people don't believe it at all. They don't believe that there's any life on any other planets, and we are the one in some quadrillion, bajillion, mammillion, right? So let me know what you guys think, because other people will just say that there's probably like microbes and stuff on other planets. But you never know until you know. That's the thing. You never know until you know. But I want to hear what you guys have to think in the comments down below. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. And honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, I'm not upset at you, but like, come on, what are we doing here? We got 1% smarter. And we can get 1% even more smarter. But all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. Because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.